hate synopsonizing. Saying what books are about. Kim here. Welcome back. I live in Utah where springtime is weird because 2 days ago it was 70 degrees and we woke up this morning to 4 inches of snow. That's life. But since so many people are complaining about it, I thought I would give a few springtime book recommendations. Maybe to inspire some springtimeness, maybe to like get you and people out of this like winter's not quite over sort of drudgery that you feel like you're in. Personally, I'm a winter girl and I like when it's chilly outside and I can wear cute scarves and coats and boots and you know, not have to be sweating all the time. But you know, to each their own, I guess. Springtime books! The first one might be a little bit of an obvious one, but I'm going with it anyway. The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Of course I'm going to choose some middle grade books, that's just what I have a ton of and what I really love, and there you have it. But this book is so sweet. It follows the story of Mary, who was recently orphaned and goes to live with her uncle, who is this brooding, horrible sort of person. She stumbles upon her deceased aunt's walled-in secret garden and starts bringing it back to life. It's a really cool transformation story. It's got some sweet things that happen. It's charming, but it's also got a lot of dark elements to it that really round it out nicely. I really like it. You know, I like dark books. I'm weird and twisted like that. This book is really cool because it does have all these springtime growing flowers and things like that, but it also has this like learning to move on with your life kind of moments too that are really cool. The second springtime book I'd like to recommend, Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. This book does really go through all the seasons more than once, and so honestly you really could read this book for any season. But I love Anne's description of springtime and things like that when she looks out of her window and she sees the tree with the flower buds on it, and just the descriptions of Green Gables where she lives and how beautiful Prince Edward Island is and all these things. It's really, really cool and really, really lovely and very, very springy and inspirational, I feel like. And part of springtime is this renewed life and things like that. And if anybody, and of all the book characters I think I've ever read, Anne Shirley is just the most full of life. And I think that's one of the reasons I love it for springtime, because it is so full of life and it is so imaginative and it is so just larger than life and beautiful and wonderful. And that's kind of this like feeling that spring gives you. It's just this fresh happiness, and that is just so Anne Shirley. Anne of Green Gables is about a little orphan girl named Anne Shirley, and she's sent to live with the Cuthberts even though they requested a boy. They decide to keep her, and it just goes from there, and this girl growing up and becoming this beautiful woman and this smart woman, and just like, it's just so like female empowerment and imagination and wonderfulness, okay? This book, I can't sing the praises of this book enough, but it's so great for spring because it has so much life in it, and the descriptions of spring and summer in Prince Edward Island is just beautiful. Next up, Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This is the novelization of the play. It was a play originally, if you don't know that. But I really, really like it for spring because it's this idea that Neverland comes to life when Peter returns. And while Peter Pan is not actually my favorite literary character, I think he's kind of a jerky little snot, but I am in love with Captain Hook, so it does have that going for it. Neverland is such a really cool place, and it's so just full of like luscious greenery and life and things like that that just springs and blossoms when Peter Pan returns. And I love the idea of that, and I love the childlikeness of this book, because that's one of the reasons I don't like Peter Pan, is because he is just like a snotty little kid. And he really is, though. There are kids like that, and so it's just very realistic and relevant in that way. But it's really great for spring because it's nostalgic, which springtime kind of brings out a lot of nostalgia for me. And just like this familiarity that Peter Pan has, which I think also relates to spring, because like it's just familiarity of warmth and flowers and the smell of, you know, growing grass and things like that just really remind me of Neverland. And this just, it comes to life, and that's what spring is about, is new life. There you have it. Do I need to tell you what Peter Pan's about? Like, do you not know? You know, right? Let's do a grown-up book, shall we? Where's a book I have one whole book for grown-ups. Here we go. The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. This is the first book in the Discworld series, I believe. I'm pretty sure this is the first book in the Discworld series. I've read it and I thought it was pretty good. I know that a lot of the other Discworld books are much, much better, I've heard, and I'll be getting to them eventually, but this one I wanted to recommend for spring because there's literally a part in this book where, like, the trees are alive. Like, they're alive and they're a kingdom, and all I can say is, don't hurt the trees. For a tree-hugging hippie like me, that's fantastic. Like, that was my favorite part of this book, was this, like, the dryads and the trees and what they were dealing with there. And that's such a cool idea for spring because the trees are coming to life, and the trees are kind of reclaiming their life. And it was just really cool to read about trees, like, really being, like, super alive. The spirits of the trees and things like that. It's just, oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. If you don't know about Discworld, it is a fantasy series by Terry Pratchett. It's wonderful. It's hilarious. It has all sorts of books that cover all sorts of adventures in different parts of it. This one specifically has Rincewind the Wizard, and it's just a fun, lighthearted fantasy that's not so, like, dense and dreary the way fantasy can get. Super cool. The next book might be kind of surprising. Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Stay with me for a second. Springtime equals rain. And there's a lot of rain in this book. Coraline wears galoshes and a raincoat, like, the whole book, okay? And there's just a lot of sort of dreary, muddy, soggy, she has to stay inside because it's raining, kind of feeling that springtime does bring with it. You know, it really does. Like, if you live somewhere other than the dry desert climate where I live, it gets very muddy and very soggy in springtime, and this book really touches on that because Coraline is kind of, like, trapped by this soggy mud and stuff like that. So I recommend it for spring just because sometimes it's nice to read about what the weather's doing outside. For me. Some people need the opposite, but I don't mind it. I don't mind when it's pouring rain to be reading with a cup of tea about somebody else dealing with the pouring rain. Like, it makes sense to me. Coraline is the story of a girl who finds a doorway to another world, and she meets Other Mother, who wants her to stay in the other world and is super creepy and super fabulous. One of the coolest literary characters I've ever read about is Other Mother. I did a full review for this novel that you can check out right there, should you feel so inclined. The next book I have to recommend is one I also recommend for winter, which may seem contradictory that a book could be both winter and spring/summer. Trust me, it works. The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, specifically The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The other books kind of work too for spring, definitely. The other books do definitely work for spring. I feel like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has this beautiful transition from winter to spring because they've had winter for so long in Narnia, and it's so sad. Winter without Christmas, like the best part of winter, and it never gets there. And then Father Christmas shows up, and then the snow starts to melt. And then the flowers start to bloom, and the grass starts to grow, and things turn green, and the trees spring to life. Such a beautiful and wonderful transition to see. Like, it's just gorgeous. Like, it's just, like, it's so wonderful and so joyful that, like, everybody has this renewed hope because spring has finally made it. Some years, like, that's really how it feels. It's really just like winter has gone on long enough. I need the hope and I need the happiness of spring, and then it gets here and, like, life just feels good. Like, you go outside and you take a deep breath and it's wonderful. And that's why I recommend The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because it has that. Like, it really conveys that feeling of hope and newness and freshness and revitalization that can happen with spring, and it's all there. Those are the books I recommend for some springtime reading. Let me know about the books that you read to kind of inspire spring and things like that. I love really great transition stories and just, I love flowers. I really do. I may be a winter girl, but I love flowers. And so, you know, if they're in books, it's like bonus. Thanks for watching, you guys. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I hope you're reading something fantastic.